Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North East Non-League Show, episode 15. Special tonight, coping with retirements. And join us tonight, we have Craig Marron. Craig, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. And just a massive thank you to our sponsors again, Beer Watch TV, Sunderland West End, Durham City, Jade Bell, and now proud to support If You Care Share Foundation as well, which I think we'll get onto them later in the show, very importantly. On that one. But yeah, as we say, join us, Craig, former, obviously, non-league, massive along the non-league scene, Chelsea Street Town. Like I say, every time I see a Chelsea Street post, I think your name's always linked anywhere, always liking it. Absolutely legend down there as well. So that's what we're going to kind of get onto before we talk about retirements, just a bit about your career. How old were you when you first started playing the non-league scene in the North East?
I was 17, mate. It was 1997 October. It was against Epleton. Obviously, Epleton's finished now, but I'll not forget it. Bryce had texted us, or text me dad, I believe, just saying that there were short of players. Would I sit on the bench? Bryce had watched us on a Sunday for me under 18 side, and you know he felt capable that I could sit even fill the bench and do something when I came on. And then that was it. I was part of the squad, and I only maybe played four second halves, if you like, maybe 80 minutes in total. But just sitting at 17-year-old and watching what I classed as proper players, proper Northern League players. It brought me on a Sunday for me under 18s, and then the year after, I probably sat for 3 months watching the first division, and that particular season, Chester finished third, I think. And then I knew it was time where I needed to get out and play senior football, and I ended up going to Berkeley with Barry Fleming. And then after that, just the rest sort of history. It went on to Esh winning with Bars, and that's obviously something I know we're going to speak to about managers I've played for. But yeah, from the age of 17, and then obviously retired when I was 40.
Yeah, I love that era because, like you say, it was what I'd class as well proper football. Yeah. And I just remember going over the night to watch Belmont, over Belmont, watching Durham City play back in the days and stuff like that. And it was just the big strikers holding the elbows about the centre backs getting a little dig in the side. It was a good football, wasn't it?
Yeah, as I say, it was. I hate using the term old school and things like that, but I mean, I speak. Obviously, I've got friends that are still in non-league, some of them pro as well. Football's changed massively, and I was out with Barry Fleming on Saturday at the assistant manager Porty's 50th at the club, and we had a good conversation, 10-15 minute bit crack about things sort of after retirement and what's happened in the last couple of weeks with me leaving the management side of things, and he knew I was down about certain things. Obviously, I love the club, but there just wasn't enough things for me to do personally. Going to games and having 2 or 3 minutes input when we've got Stevie, we've got Bowser, we've got Porty, 3 good pals of mine. But I just said, listen, I value my time more, and there just wasn't enough for 4 of us to do. So I just made the decision that I wasn't going to do it. But Big Baz said to us on Saturday, he says, you've got to take a step back and realise what I've done in terms of playing in a proper era of football, as you've just said there. I sat and watched the likes of Bryce, Tony Healer, Jason Ainsley, David Bales, proper northern non-league players, should I say, not northern league, non-league players. And then I was proud enough to go in there and play shoulder to shoulder against proper good players. And then as time's gone on, I'm not going to say the quality's certainly gone down in the second division. The first division it's miles ahead of the second division, and obviously I know finances come with that. And then above that, you've got your Mortwiths, your Heavens in the northern, whatever it's called, the Northern Premier, Eastern Premier, and then obviously Spenny, Blythe, Gateshead, Darlow. That level of football. I was at the Spenny game last night. Is absolutely superb. So for all the second divisions probably diluted, and it's the Weir side's as good as the top half of the Weir side as good as the second division. There's still some very good players, but as I say, society's changed. Players don't really care as much, in my opinion, as what they did when I was old school. So, as I say, society's changed, but the league as a whole in the second division's gone massively downhill.
No, I totally agree. I mean, finished with a football team about a couple of years ago after 16 years, and just like say they just couldn't wait to get off the field to do a TikTok video or put something. Well, it was crazy, man.
I was in the gym earlier and I was thinking about certain things that we discussed, and obviously we didn't have those things back in the day. Right? You know, it sounds dead old, but now, and I'll touch on Chester because it's obviously the club I've just left, and people watching might laugh. And lads don't get showered after a game. Lads don't stay for a beer after the game. Whereas 2 years ago, it was a massive part of it. And I'm not saying that just having a drink is, but that's what bonded us. And I see we just spoken briefly before the show about, say, Stephen and Phil Turnbull, like two proper players, you know, two really good footballers. But I've been in the company a couple of times in C years and years ago when C was open, and all around you was footballers, but it was from different clubs, and you could just tell they were a mainstay of, say, a South Shields. They would be the lads that get them on a night out, and if you had one night out there a month, you could see the benefits on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the bond off it. You could see it on the park, and unfortunately, you see, especially in the second division, I say young lads now that they don't really care. That they'll pick up the packet, get in their dad's car, and then just shoot off. It's just changed, but as I say, get that society as a whole, mate. So there's still plenty positives, but that's a massive negative, mate.
No, definitely. And you mentioned Chelsea Street there. I mean, how many years as a player, volunteer, manager, system? How long have you just been with Chelsea Street now?
I'd probably say all in 11 years. Obviously, I've had spells away from the club. Always wanted to come back. Always wanted to finish where I'd started. And as I say, I'm pretty proud that I looked after myself. I love my weekends. Everyone knows that. But come a Sunday night or maybe say a Monday morning, you're in the gym, you're watching what you do for the Tuesday or the Wednesday night. I never missed training. I didn't particularly like training, but it was something, especially at the end of my career, I had to do, and I had to work harder than the young kids, you know. But as I say, to finish at 40-year-old, I'm pretty chuffed for myself, and as I say, it was my choice. There was I know we'll probably get on to it, one of your other questions, but I knew when the time was right. I got sent off against Berkeley for violent conduct, and I was late to a tackle. I was slow to a tackle, and then the aftermath ended up, and I got a red card, and obviously disappointed myself. But it's not the first time I've been sent off, and sat in the bar after, and there was just something niggling, James, that I thought, if I can't make that tackle, I've made it millions of times. If I can't make that, my legs have gone. And I watched the 3 games after, and the only thing that was missing wasn't my ability, wasn't me tackling, it was my voice. And I thought, if that's all I'm bringing to Chesley Street, or any other team for that matter, it's time to step away. I couldn't do it in the centre of midfield anymore. And then, as I say, mate, I had probably about 6 weeks where I wasn't sleeping. My routine had completely gone. I was anxious when I was watching the lads. It was infuriating because I knew I could probably still do it at centre half.
Yeah.
But there was a big part of us thinking, have I made the right decision? And I said to Colin Wake, the manager at the time, I said, Colagans, I'm going to have a couple of months away from the club, mate, to get my head right. And he was like, no, I said, I totally respect that. The week after, I went and played over 40s for Penshire. And everyone, we won 4-0, and everyone was like, oh, you enjoy it? And I said, yes, I didn't, mate. I didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same. And obviously, I'm savvy enough to know it's not going to be the same standard. It was like being 17 again and playing against lads that Northern League legends that are now 50 odd.
So there's, yeah.
But they still had the competitive edge. Obviously, the legs weren't there. But everything around football, Northern League, is routine. And I don't want to go over the top and say, God, it nearly killed us. Just mentally, it was horrendous. And as I say, I was able to speak to a few people about it, and lads that are still playing, lads that have finished, and it was a massive help to us, mate.
No, definitely. Just want to say before we go on as well, nearly hitting double figures already. Absolutely amazing support as ever. Like just been chatting before the show there. Absolutely, I just appreciate all your support. Any comments, get them in as well. And if you're just new to the channel, please hit that subscribe as well. But the next round, which we always do when we do get the players on a Sunday for the looking back with, and it's the quick fire round, and I can imagine you've got some great answers to this, so I want to go on this before we hit the retirement part. So who is the best manager that you worked under?
Barry Fleming. He just a brilliant bloke. And when my dad passed away, when I was 22. For all Baz was my gaffer, he'd become a father figure. I could literally go to him with anything, and you know, it meant the world to us. And probably a mention to Swaz when I went to Riot, Martin Swales.
Yes, yeah.
I knew of him, and then he signed us from Berkeley. When Barry Fleming and Porty left there, he came and got us, and we came second. But obviously, we couldn't go up because of the ground issues. But Swaz, again, still good friends to this day. So Baz Fleming and Porty, but close to Swaz as well, mate.
Excellent. The best teammate that you played with?
Oh, God. I'm going to think about this when you tip us off, it will be coming up. And because I've played for that long, I'd probably say, like, my early days was like Mark Irwin. Mark Irwin was a centre-half from he was Towel or Gretna. He was everywhere. Anywhere that was paying an extra $5 he would go to. I ended up with him at Eschwinning, and again, he'll crop up later in a couple of stories, but he's probably the best, the one early, not for ability, just for everything. He was a proper leader, very vocal. In terms of ability, I'd probably say Craig Robson. I think he's still involved with Greenside on a Sunday. Roper was with us at Wrighton, and he was the ideal partner for me in midfield, where sometimes I'd be the one that had to put my foot in, you know, break play up. Me and him just complement each other. He could tackle a brick wall, but he could pass. So probably Craig Robson, best player I play with.
Excellent. Best opposition player that you've played against, which I imagine in centre midfield has been a few canny battles in there over the years.
Some brilliant players, as I mentioned earlier. Jason Ainsley, David Bales. That was when I was at Bairn at Eschwinning, playing them in county cup games. And then when Jay played, I think it was about 37, 38, had some proper ding-dongs with Jay. He was more of a footballer, and I was more of the kicker. But David Bales, Jason Ainsley, and probably more recently Craig Gott, Shane Henry. Two. I mean, still doing it now. Obviously, I know Shane was injured at the moment with a bad injury, but two fantastic midfielders.
Excellent. The best footballing moment?
Probably collectively, promotion with Chester. I think it was 2013-14. Didn't pay a penny, no budget. As we spoke about earlier, social side. We're out 2-3 times a month. I'm sure a couple of lads end up losing birds because we're out that much. So I mean, that was Wickham. I think Wickham went up the season or two after. I think they paid 25 quid a man, so they were paying money, but that was very similar to what we'd done. And again, Wickham at the time under Robin Falkus had a brilliant spirit. They were out every Saturday and Sunday, never mind Saturdays. They had it all. And personally, I think probably, obviously, all the club awards I've had, but I hate saying come and runners up because you sort of still a loser, but come and runners up for the Northern League Player of the Year, that promotion season. I think Billy Gross-Smith from
Shildon, yeah.
And I came runners up, and that personally was decent for me, mate.
Oh, definitely. And the funniest football moment, which I imagine there's loads of these nights out.
Mark Irwin. I'm made sure I could speak about it. To be fair, there's two stories. One of them, both when we're at Eschwinning. One of them was before a game, and he came into the dressing room and he had love bites on his neck, and he'd stayed out on the Friday night, and he came in and he boiled the kettle and he put the spoon in the kettle in the boiling water and then was burning the love bites off. And I was like, the lads were like, "What are you doing?" He says, if my lass sees that, I'm just going to say one of you's done it. So before the game, James, there was like obviously a pause doing the toss and that, And then he heard this at the back of Eschwinnon, used to be able to park the cars up on the hill. And right next to the home dressing room, all Mark's clothes started getting thrown over the top of it. And it was his bird. So that was one of them. And then a bar trip. We're playing Warrington away, and we're having a night out after we got beat 1-0. And we're all in the bar, and we were like, "Where's Erwin?" Obviously, he's like a sort of leader. And he came down, he had his club tracksuit on, all lads are dressed to go out. And he says, "Lads, it's a club night out, we should have the tracksuit on." Obviously, I was only young. I was like, "No, Mark, we're going out, we're not getting any bars." So he came down, and he had this shirt undone, out of his pants, down to about his knees. And I says, "Oh, I took your cell in, mate. You look like a bag of shit." And he took his cell in, and I said, "Pull your pants up." And what he'd done is he packed too quickly on the morning and put his mum's boyfriend's trousers in his kit bag. So Mark's obviously 6'5". I'm sure his mum's partner at the time was 5'8". And honestly, he lasted about a bar. He went out dressed like that. He lasted one bar, and the stick got too much for him, and he went home in the huff. There's plenty of stories about Erwin, mate.
Oh, class, man. Really good. But yeah, getting on to the retirement part now. I know you touched on it quite early there. So when was it kind of you decide that was retiring? What season was that when you packed in the Northern League?
Last season? Last season, in last August. My last game was Bedlington, and as I say, I made the decision not as soon as I got sent off. As I say, the Berkeley game was 3 games before Bedlington. 4 games. So I sat out 3 of them, and while watching, I was like, they're not missing us, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that ability-wise, but they just weren't. They'd won a game, they'd lost a game, drew a game or something. And then against Bedlington, I said to me missus, Cheryl, I said, "Listen," I says, I'm going to retire. And she was like, "Eh?" She can always tell I overthink a lot. It weighed on my mind, and I walked up to Porky, and I'll be honest with you, it wasn't teary, but I can't, "Mate, this is my last game." And he was like, "You're joking, aren't you?" He says, "Well, we need you." And I goes, "No, mate, this is my last game." He says, "Well, we definitely need you today. We've got 12, so you'll have to play 90 minutes. And we got beat 3-0. And as I say, afterwards, it sounds like melodramatic and cliche and stuff. I looked around and I thought, right, that's it, it's done. And it was hard. And I was out with Sparky from Spennymoor on the Sunday. It was a bank holiday weekend. And on the Sunday, we're having a bite to eat with the wives and the kids. And Charlie Ryan, chairman of Eschwinnon, rang us. And he says, "Obviously, we've seen that you've retired. Did I want the manager's job?"
Right.
And I didn't, mate. Obviously, I've been Esch a few times in terms of playing there. Got a soft spot for them, but I just didn't. I didn't fancy management. I still don't. The only one I wanted was Chester. And I've seen how players go on. I've been a player, and you're not just dealing with Craig Marron. You're dealing with 20 other lads that have got different things. Obviously, the issues I've gone through in my personal life years ago. You've got 20 of those, you know what I mean? And it's just not for me, mate. So here we are. I'm just enjoying going to games. And as I say, I've got plenty of pals that play for different clubs that I just go and watch now, mate.
No, definitely. And I mean, at that time, you pack in, you realise there's no games left to go to. How was your feelings, your thoughts thinking about kind of what's next about packing in?
It's just the routine, mate. As I say, it's massive. Even in life, routine's key, isn't it? If you haven't got a routine, it's hectic. You know, if you doing all your shows, you'll have a plan. You've obviously sent me the plan of our show. If you don't have that, it's just hectic and manic, and it leads to all sorts. And I mean, I've got a group chat, or someone set a group chat up, and it's called Addictive Personalities, because every one of us has got something that you're addicted to, and it's some of it's jokey, some of it's not. Whether it's, for argument's sake, like drugs or gambling or something. We've all got that. Some going to the gym, you know, and football for a lot of us was certainly for me was a massive drug. And I had that routine, James, of Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But more importantly was the stuff in between, where a Thursday, Friday. Now, when I didn't have that, mate, I'll be completely honest with you, and honest to people that watch, the Fridays became a major concern in terms of finishing graft, thinking, "Oh, I've had a good week. I haven't got football. over 40s, with all due respect, I didn't really care about. So I would hit the bevy, and if I wasn't in the right frame of mind, it could lead to other things, mate. I'm big enough to admit that. So obviously, I have to say I've got a great wife and two brilliant kids that I'm very open with, and we discuss a lot. So it was up to me to make the changes in terms and just say, right, over 40s is probably I need to do it just to keep myself sort of involved.
Definitely.
So I'm obviously back playing now. I had 6 weeks off with an injury. Back last week. Obviously no drink on a Friday. Back in the gym for the last 3 weeks. Routines key, mate. And when you haven't got that, people just don't understand. People just think that, or certainly now, especially when we've just been talking about kids nowadays, it's not a hobby. It was never a hobby to me. You know what I mean? Getting all the accolades I got at Chelsea Street and other clubs, and the pats on the backs, and it's massive. And yes, it's an ego sort of thing, but at the same time, players, and certainly I'm not speaking just about myself, other players love clubs just as much as I do.
Aye, definitely.
People do give you sticks saying, "Oh, you're a busy bugger, you blah blah." It's not. That's my English club. If you like, I don't support any English clubs. I support Celtic, but I love Chester. I love going to watch Spennymoor or a Gateshead. It's just something I'm passionate about, is non-league football. You know what I mean? So be it.
No, you're a spot. Like, it is like a drug, as you say. You get involved with it, and you just want more and more. And I mean, when you said you were coming on, what we're going to be chatting about, I kind of looked back at what I was been doing as well, and it was going back to 2006. Just got my coaching badges and played a little bit of football. But I set up a youth side in Sherburn Village at the time, and we took them from under 7s to under 16s. Brilliant. So pretty much 10 years of football, and then you get to that 16-year-olds, and obviously the fine drink, the fine lasses.
That's it,
and mate. I thought, this is not going to go on for much longer. So what we had to do is, rather than going to under 17s, we then had to make the step to adult football. So straight away at that point, obviously my boots were straight back on. So I was only playing every now and again until the kids' season started. So I was only playing the first kind of month, and then it was it. Yeah. And then as soon as you start playing a few games, play a manager, it was just the enjoyment, the love for it, the tackles flying again, the goals, because I'm a striker, the goals go in the back of the net. And to me, that was my drug, scoring the goal. Just hearing that noise hitting the back of the net, and I was just like, I need more of this. And we lasted about 5 years in the adult football, but it got about season 3. And I mean, in Sherburn, you've got obviously, I know they change them every now and again, but they've got the Premier League Durham side, where now it's from players from all over the northeast. Where the one that we set up, it was just in the Peterlee League. It was literally just for a group of mates to come and have a laugh. Didn't matter if you were good, you're bad, just to come have a laugh. But after a couple of seasons, as I say, we used to have so many nights out. After every game, you had to go back for a pint, and because of that bonding, the third season we won promotion up the first division. We were never ready for it, and then, like you say, on that, it was just working so hard in the pre-season leading up to it. It was just after COVID, actually, absolutely ran me socks off every night after coming in from work, and then it was just the pre-season game before the season started. Going up for a header, came down, and my Achilles just totally ruptured, and I just remember thinking, I thought it was a centre-back just came through the back of us. There was no one there, straight off the hospital. And I had this cast on my leg for about 5 or 6 months. And luckily for myself, because of COVID, we were working from home. I had this massive pot on, crutches, trying to look after 2 kids, house. Luckily, able to work from home. But as soon as I rang the wife to say I was in hospital, you're not playing football anymore. And then as soon as obviously come down to the management, and because we did win promotion to Division 1, we almost got promoted to the Premier League somehow, and because of that, obviously players then left because they thought, we won Division 2 quite easy. I can't play at this level now, and we just struggled. And as it went on, it was more frustrating because I couldn't go out and play because of the injury, and players just weren't putting in. You can see they weren't trying and stuff like that. So after 6 years in the adult football, I mean, it's been about 16 years overall. I said, right, that's me done. And straight away, I mean, even the first couple of Sunday mornings, I thought, shit, I'm not getting picked up for football here. What do I do? So I had to go around the park just to find a game of football. I can listen out for referee's whistle. It's just that thing at 10:30. And it's just gone like that, isn't it?
It is. It's as I say, it's where I live in Pelton. We've got umpteen Chelsea Street based sides. So I'm the same as you, mate. I'll go on the internet, or I'll go on Facebook, any local games, and as I say, when I step out to walk the dogs, you hear the whistle, and whether it's an under 7s or an 8 game, I'll go and watch it. My little nephew Isaac's starting to play now, and I get quite a lot of enjoyment out of that. It's because it's something I didn't have. I didn't start playing until I was 9 because through primary school, and seeing them at 6-year-old, and my brother's involved with another guy there at Hetton. It's great seeing them molding these kids. Do you know what I mean? I mean, don't get us wrong. It's hard as well because at certain times when you go to the soccer arena, it's like glorified childcare. But at the same time, it's great seeing different players and how they're, even in the last month, how they're moving forward. You know what I mean? So as I say, there is other things other than the football, but as you've just said, it's you've got to go looking for it. You know, it's gone.
Definitely, but them little things that the switch as well, because I know obviously my son, he's just started playing under sevens football, and straight away we turned up. There was no manager, nothing, no balls, no cones, so I had to take over that, go out and buy your own cones out of your own money, and we literally finished fourth for this cracking group of lads, and he wasn't enjoying it because I couldn't train them, so because I was always at work midweek, so he wasn't enjoying the training, so he has just left last weekend. But just because being back in that environment, they want to win, even though it's only under sevens football. But then even last week, going down speaking to the new West End manager, Steve Cockerell, he's saying, please come down one Tuesday night, come and record some things for training. If you want, bring your boots down. And I thought, and it's just that little thing that triggers in your mind. And I says, I haven't got any boots, just to try and put the thing out of my mind. He says, what size are you? I've got some boots, come down, put them on. I'm just thinking, you know what it is? I might actually just, I really fancy it. Like, so it's just them little things where something just triggers in your mind, isn't it? I mean, it's hard to stop, isn't it, overall?
I had a conversation again. It's like another group. Everyone's got group chats. Tony Healer, that's ex again Northern League bloke, scores goals wherever he went. Ex Durham City. Me, him, and Sparky. Another lad that plays locally in the Alliance for Bladen. We set up like it was a running chat, and we started doing the park run together, and we started on Sundays and stuff. And it was just, obviously, it started in COVID or towards the end when you were allowed to mix, etc. But it was just getting that. I'm not going to say it was competitive with each other, but we set out to get under 20 minutes. Now, Sparky's fit as a fiddle was getting under 18. I managed 19, 26. Tony couldn't get under 20 minutes, but he grafted his pods off. And now, I'm not going to say comfortably does it because it's hard going, gets under 20 minutes for 5K. That's the sort of competitive edge that you need when you've left football, because there's nothing else. You need to replace the sort of the habit, if you like, of the habit of winning, the habit of wanting to win, with the habit of I want to get under 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Or whatever your passion is. With you setting up your channel, I want to get to so many subscribers. You know what I mean? You'll work damn hard to get there. Do you know what I mean? So you've always got to have that, if you like, winning mentality, the desire to do something better. So that's where we're at the moment in terms of running in the gym, and I'm pretty, as we'll touch on it later, in terms of pals rounders. I'm privileged and I'm lucky that I've got a great set of pals rounders as well, very supportive, and lads that have been through a lot more than me. And obviously, if you care, share Matty Smith, close pal of mine. You know him well and what he's about and what the family's about. There's far worse off than myself retiring from football. But as I say, it's a hard one, mate.
No, definitely. Like you say, the first couple of weekends, you're fine. You're going out, like myself, I used to go out for a walk with the Bairns on a Sunday morning, around the park, make sure there's a football pitch there, just to watch the football. But when did it start to kind of hit you, feel, I have now packed in now, what am I going to do next?
Probably, as I say, mine hit us immediately, because not because I knew I could still do it at, say, centre half, but just that routine had gone, mate. It was just the key to everything. It was the key to my life, and not having to, say, look after yourself was just, as I say, it's looking back, it was my fault as such. Let myself slide a little bit, but the lad I work for, and I don't want to name drop, but he gets down to Essex a lot, or he did when he was seeing the girl from down there, and she was related to Tony Cotty. And Tony Cotty, by all accounts now, is massive, huge, smokes like a chimney, obviously drinks like no one's business. And he said he hadn't been in the gym since he retired. And Phil, my boss, was like, how come? And he goes, how come? He says, because for 30 years, I dedicated my life to football. dedicated. I was in the gym constantly with Everton. And yes, it was a culture back then where a lot of people think everyone drank. Everyone didn't drink. You know what I mean? He said he did, but not to the excess that others did in that era. And he says, as soon as I finished, he says, I just thought, right, I'm living my life. You know what I mean? So, as I say, some people want to slide that way, and I didn't, but I let myself go that way. But it was just a case of, yes, I was missing football and was hurting us. Right, I had to go and do something. And obviously, I've got my family here, and they're the most important things. I've got my mother, got me niece and nephew, you know, and you can't let things like that. And I know it's a big thing, football, and I harp on about it, but it is only football, but it just dictates so much of your life. You know what I mean?
It does. And at any point, did it really hit any low points with yourself?
I wouldn't say a low, mate. Obviously, previously in the podcast that I done with Mark Carruthers and If You Care and stuff, I touched upon the bad time that I had during my time at Chester, where I let things get on top of us through the grief of my dad and stuff. And obviously, after attempting suicide, the sort of breakdown of me marriage, and I take obviously responsibility to a point for that. But obviously, the stronger you get after I've done the podcast and the support I had, and obviously there was no negative. There was obviously you'll always tell a lie. You get the odd thing about being an attention seeker, and I touched upon this with another podcast I've done with someone. Of course, you're attention seeking because you want the attention, because you need the help. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know that if you weren't attention seeking, unfortunately you would end up doing something really bad. You know, which I attempted, and I'm touched wood. I would never ever do that again. Too much pain I've seen with other families. But with regards, the lowest point was probably in the last 5 weeks. I'll be honest with you, when I realised that I was going to have to not leave Chester, but leave the management side. I've got no real interest in going on the committee and stuff. That wasn't me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me personally, I felt I'd done enough in terms of what I'd done in the game, what I've done for the club, to have a chance at the manager's job. Obviously, Steph Bowie, Steve Stewart, and Porty are three good pals. Porty's one of my best pals, so I wish them nothing but good luck. But having to say it to Bowser on that Wednesday morning before the Borough Rangers game, listen, mate, I'm not going to bother anymore. And he was shocked, but he understood it, because you want that input, you know what I mean? And there's sort of too many cooks spoil the broth, and
exactly to it,
yeah. But I think the good thing for us, James, was that I now realise I've got so much outside of football. I've got my family, I've got my two dogs, I've got Isaac's football, you know, and I've got, as I said, I touch upon my social life. Social life's great. Whether it's with the over 40s, whether it's going to watch Sparky, Ramshaw, whoever it may be, I can now do what I want to do. And I realise that, right, you don't have to play non-league football. You don't have to even go and watch a game. You know, you don't have to go and watch Chesley Street. I'll always look out for the results, and obviously I'm still in the group chat, etc. So the lowest point, it was low, didn't get us wrong, but I cope now. I'm mentally tougher than I was, and I put that down to obviously speaking out. And I know we'll touch upon If You Care and their message, etc. Regardless of which charity and which organisation it is, the key is that just, and we harping about lads especially, but for everyone, it's just don't bottle stuff up. There's too many things now where we worry. It's a worry for my niece and nephew, not so much my kids now because they're older. We worry too much about what people think, you know.
Definitely,
I honestly don't. I don't care what people think now. I do at this moment. I hope people think, God, two blokes speaking as openly as they have done. If it helps 10 people, great. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's a massive thing in society, not just football, mate. But obviously, we'll touch upon retirement. And I know one of your questions with I'll probably jump ahead, was the support you get. Non-league, you get no support. You get support off If You Care. You get support off you. Me and you can exchange phone calls, etc. And your pals will look out for you. The FA has got to do something about the thousands of grassroots players. You know, it's all right being in the PFA and the clubs. I believe now, obviously, I'm not involved in a pro club, but I believe they do have much more of a safeguarding issue with regards what you do with injuries. And obviously, I had a conversation with Joe Tate 2 weeks ago from Spennymoor. He's been out the side, and he goes, "Maz, what do you? It's so hard, isn't it?" And he was talking about a retirement perspective. But you see a Sparky who's a close pal of mine. Sparky's been injured for 3 weeks. He's had a bad season now with injuries. He's obviously 33-year-old. Little niggles turn into bigger supporters, and I'll touch on this now because it does bug us. Supporters, and I'll say Spennymoor because these are close pals of mine. The stuff that some of the fans have said about pals of mine and not caring and little clicks and stuff, I don't think people see a Joe Tate sitting there or a Mark Anderson sitting there gutted that they're not in a team, because Tatey came on 2 weeks ago against Runcorn, was blown out his arse after 10 minutes, but the guy had worked so hard on his fitness, but nothing replaces your match fitness.
Yeah, and exactly.
He says, Maz, mentally, he says, how hard is it? Again, it's incredible. How hard is it when you've been injured for 7-8 months, possibly longer with your ACL? Oh, yeah, I beg your pardon, with your ankle.
Achilles,
Achilles. So it's all right, people saying, "Oh, Spenny lads are looked after, they're on a lot of money," and it goes for any top Northern League club. I don't think people realise lads want to play football. They're not just there for the pitch. Do you know what I mean? So some of the stuff that's aimed at them, especially after defeats, and this goes a lot higher in terms of when footballers lose a game of football. If you're a pro, you've got every right to go out and have a beer. You know what I mean? If me and you have a bad day at work, mate, should we sit in the house, dwell on how shit of a day it's been, or I'm having a red stripe now because I've had an all right day? So if you get beat 2-0, as long as you're not rubbing it in people's faces, you've got every right to go out and have a beer just because you've been beaten in a game of football. You know what I mean?
Right.
Crying out loud.
Exactly, innit?
It's a game of football, and it means a lot to supporters. I'm telling you now, it means a hell of a lot more to footballers that actually represent you, the team you support. Do you know what I mean?
Especially what we put in over the last 5 or 6 years, they've just been successful every single season. They kind of keep it up, can't they?
No, yeah. And I had a conversation yesterday with Andy Innes, again, a good pal of mine, assistant at Blythe. We went to the game yesterday to watch them because Blythe game was off. And he said, "What was your thoughts on Spenny?" Last night, they were superb second half. Boston were brilliant, I thought, throughout, but credit to Spenny. But Spenny have levelled off, James. You know that. You're savvy enough. They've had a great 7 or 8 years. They've been spoilt in effect because they've had promotion after promotion, cups, vases, you name it. And now they've levelled off in an almost full-time league, and you've got people saying they're going to be relegated. You're up against 24, 20, whatever it is, 23 very good sides. Farsley Celtic went and beat Kings Lynn. No one would have put money on that. They're in a good league, you know what I mean? So, I mean, unfortunately, Spenny's probably in a little bit of a transition period where whoever gets the management job permanently, I beg your pardon, might have to say to the chairman that they have to go into the further than Manchester, James, to get a better.
Yeah, definitely.
But with that, mate, comes extortionate wages. So you can talk about how successful a businessman Brad is, and I know him very well, but you can't just keep on chucking money at it. You know what I mean? That's to be a bit of sustainability about it. But as I say, some people just see literally it's Spennymoor black and white and think that they know best. And as I say, when you've been involved in a club and when you've played at certain levels, you actually know a little bit more than someone that's just paying a tenner. And I don't mean that rudely or big time. There's some people haven't got a clue what goes on in a dressing room. You know what I mean? The fights that happen, the arguments. Obviously, last night there was a big ding dong, which got Spenny going in the second half. A big. I'm not going to say set two. I don't want to say too much, but there was a lot of questions asked at halftime, and they went out and they blew them away. It should have been more than 3-2. It looks close. Spenny were brilliant second half. So, but there we go, mate.
Really good. Same again. Just want to put it out there again. Still hitting double figures. Absolutely amazing. The support throughout the night as well. Really appreciate your support. As well, like I said, if you have got any comments, get them in there. We'll get them read out. And again, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe as well. But we're getting on now the co-op and the support that's available now. And I mean, you hit your nail on the head. You're out last week or the week before, sorry, with a couple of friends. How important is it just to meet up, a phone call, just chatting to a friend now these days?
It's huge, mate. And again, I'm certainly not, everything's black and white with me, but when I went through my hardest point, mate, and as I say, when I done the podcast with Mark and Matty Smith and Jackie Robson, etc., we spoke about people making a token gesture. Now, for me, if I say to you, James, if you were to drop me a message, or if I used to put a lot of cryptic tweets and statuses on, that attention-seeking thing for someone to reach out. Obviously, too cryptic because it didn't really happen until I'd done that podcast where in effect, everything came out. And I made a point, mate, if I say it to you, I'll drop it, providing I'm obviously not working away somewhere. If anyone's struggling, and you don't have to be my pal, it could be, you don't have to be a footballer. If anyone was struggling, all you have to do is drop me an inbox or a message or comment on here, whatever you want to do. And I would drop anything to have a pint with someone. There's a thing going around now where I'd sooner have a pint with you, or I'd sooner have a conversation than be reading about you on social media. And there's not a truer word, but there's too many people, mate. And I've had it said to me, and it's a little bit sad because some of them are, I'd probably say, I'm not going to say close friends, but some of them acquaintances. Oh, I'm always there for you, mate. Well, hold on, mate. When I say that I want to go for a pint, it's not because I'm interested in watching, I don't know, some Egyptian football league game on in the cricket club. I need to speak to you. You know what I mean? So if I say I've got two good pals, they're involved in the over 40s, I'll not mention them. Two good pals where I'll say to them, listen, mate, you fancy a pint? And they know that I need a pint. And vice versa, mate. You know what I mean? So if someone says to me, they fancy a pint, 9 times out of 10, the other pals, I'll just want a social pint. I'll still do it. Do you know what I mean? And I think, I'm not saying that everyone should just go for a pint, but a coffee, you know, a run, you name it. If I'm specifically texting you to say, fancy going to the gym tonight? It's not just, I can train on my own. You know, I'll go and train on my own. I'll go and drink on my own. But I need you. I need to speak to you and get something off my chest. You know, so, and I think that's the benefit of group chats that can be, that you'll know yourself, especially football ones, that can be close to the bone, the Mickey taken. But
definitely.
Also, especially ours, as I say, I've got a good crux of 5 or 6 pals, and one of our pals, he had a hard time, and he plays Northern League. Just went off the map in terms of wasn't responding to text. He was reading things, and I was proud of my pals every single day. 5, 6, 7 texts going in. Are you all right? And obviously he was getting back to us separately, and we knew collectively, James, that he might not have been all right, but he wasn't in too bad of a place, because he'd been given that many opportunities. He could have easily came out and said, and in the end, credit to him, and he'll know he'll know it's aimed at him. He went and got the help he needed, and he's making small baby steps, mate. But he knows that every single person and his teammates that's obviously that he's registered with, they all know, and he got the help. But it only came because he wanted the help, and lads were there to. I'm not saying the lads give him the help, but they give him a little nudge to say, listen, we're all here for you, mate. And he made the step to go and get the help. And as I say, it's one thing struggling, but you have to, and it's imperative, you've got to want to help yourself, you know what I mean? And it'll seem hard. And I've been through it with my brother as well. And he's making brilliant progress in terms of, if someone offers you help, grab it with both hands. It's the hard, you know, it's the hardest thing in the world, especially as a bloke, asking for help, admitting weakness. But we're only human, mate. You know, we're not machines. We've all got a heart, you know. So I'd rather you just open up rather than break someone else's. And we've touched upon it earlier. The chaos, the heartache, the pain. All you do when you unfortunately take your own life or harm yourself is just pass pain to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just there's always a way out. I don't care what it is. There's always a way out.
Oh, he is. I mean, like you say, with your group mates and you're chatting as well. I mean, like the interviews that we do with former players, managers, chairmen coming on and just having a chat. You don't know what they're going through, but just to see someone come on and just laugh and share a story. You know yourself, you'll go down the pub with a group of friends. within 10 minutes. It's, can you remember when we did this in the change room? Can you remember?
Well,
the football chat comes up. It's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's what's great about football. That's what's great about friendships. But as I say, it doesn't necessarily have to be a friend that you turn to. I mean, obviously, the work you're doing, someone could easily drop you in inbox. The amount of times that you're putting it out there, do you know what I mean? And as I say, it's the same for me. That the certain lads won't do it. The certain lads probably, excuse me, I feel fortunate that it's not bravery or anything like that. I just feel that comfortable about talking about where I've been, how I've got out of it, and where I'm at now. And don't get us wrong, I still have bad days, but it's coping with it. I'll never ever get up. Obviously, for those that don't know, when I lost my dad, I didn't grieve until I was about 26. Ended up I was on gear every time I had a drink, sort of thing. That was my coping mechanism, but I didn't realize until about 28, 29 that I wasn't handling it well. Ended up walking off or asking to be taken off in a Chelsea Street game, and a couple of lads still give us a little bit of grief, thinking that it's a sort of joke, and it wasn't. I wasn't open enough with Colin Wake, Bars, Porty. So that's probably another message if you are struggling, because football should always be a release. It was always a release for me. But at that point, I was that low. I couldn't think about it. Normally, when you play football, you know yourself. It doesn't matter what you've done, how much money's in your bank, what your experts do, whatever it may be. You just focused on football. Not that night. My head had gone. Has to come off. And as I say, the huge message. I probably digressed a little bit. The huge messages within football, especially. Your gaffer won't know. Your physio won't know. Physio is probably the easiest, in my opinion, the easiest person to talk to, because all the lads love a pre-match rub, and you know what I mean. They're always jovial, whether it's an old bloke, whether it's the lasses that are now on the scene, or whether it's just one of the lads. You're always having that little bit of crack with them when you're getting your rub and you talk about your ailments, etc. But it's just so important that if you've got any sort of issue, just get it out there.
No, definitely. See, it's an outlook. So I know when I was playing on the weekend and stuff, it was kind of I want to work in a call centre, so it's literally taking call after call, pretty much 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday. And sometimes it does get you in that first thing that you do on a Sunday morning. You go into a tackle and you put everything that you've kind of customers shouting at you all week into that first tackle. It's crazy when people look back at it, but it does, isn't it? It's an escape. It really is. But getting on to If You Care Share Foundation, and I mean, first of all, for ourselves, it's very important. Obviously, we have the Rainy Toon Talk Facebook group for Newcastle fans. We now have the North East Non-League Show group for non-league fans. And I know we put in that very early. I know that we spoke to them, and obviously we said, is it okay if we use your logo on our match things, on our posters, in our groups? Just if any of that one person that we can help. I mean, there's nearly, I think, 1.7 thousand now in the Newcastle one. There's nearly 500 in the Northern League. If there's just one person that we can help out of them, one person sees that message, we're going to put it back in again tomorrow to refresh things. It could be massive, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, mate. I think when you spoke earlier about what support's given in non-league, semi-pro, I thought about when I was in the gym earlier, James, and I thought, obviously, because I'm so close with Matty and Tom Young, that's at the Corinthians on a Saturday. I'd love, and I don't know how possible it would be, I'd love to see, and I'm not just saying, don't think I'm having a dig, I'd love to see If You Care roll out the workshop in semi-pro teams. And I know it'll take, obviously, money, it'll take more staff, etc. But I'd love, and I'd certainly do it, I'd certainly share my story, if you like, to sit in and it would be hard, I think, because you obviously quite a few teammates or ex opponents, just to stand there. And I've seen Matty present, and it doesn't have to be a pro club, doesn't have to be an academy. Do it at Ashton, do it at Blythe, do it at Spenny. Get the lads in for an hour. Share Matty's story, particularly is I mean, it's harrowing, but it sort of gives you that. It gives you a little bit of a kick to say, right, yeah, something is, and I mean this in the best will. Yeah, I'm not quite right. Something's not right up there or in there. You know what I mean? So if he can stand there, or if Maz can stand there and blurt that out, I can text someone and get a little bit of help, you know. So
Exactly.
I'd love to see it rolled out in amateur football, mate.
No, it would be absolutely brilliant. 'Cause I think what it is now, especially in the Northern League, you'll see a lot of players getting released from the likes of Newcastle, Sunderland, Borough, Hartlepool, Darlow. Then the next level is they don't have a club. They end up playing, they might even play in the Northern League Division 2. They have a few games, and all of a sudden they're released from that. Then for them, they've gone from that to that.
Yeah.
And that's it. They pretty much think life's over. And I know we've had a few players who did the written interviews for us for the Newcastle, and exactly the same. Once they got released from Newcastle, all they knew was, I'm going to play for Newcastle. That goes. And the next thing is, what's your next step? There's nothing there. They haven't got a job. They haven't got a trade. And it's just so hard for young lads these days as well. So it's very important to get out there, definitely, as well. We're just getting on to now, and obviously you love football as well. How is everything now for yourself, and obviously your time and enjoying it? And I know you've helped people now with your own troubles, haven't you?
The conversation I had with Barry Fleming on Saturday, I previously spoke to him 2 weeks ago with regards to doing some work for him, and we had a touch base with what I was going through. But Saturday particularly, and I know it was socially, but I hadn't had much to drink, and neither had he. And just that conversation put us on a proper front foot. And as I say, I've had a good couple of weeks. Don't get us wrong, I haven't had a bad time of it as such in the last month or so.
Yeah.
It's just telling Chester that I was away, it hit us hard. But as I say, now it's just onwards and upwards. I've got the family. Family are the most important thing to us. You know what I mean? And Cheryl's loves her football. Her uncle's Colin Todd, so he's obviously pretty well known. So she knows exactly how much it means to us.
Yeah, but definitely.
Just going and watching any football, any competitive sport, whether it's even running. I enjoy standing on the finish line at park run. I haven't done the park run for a while, but if I take the dogs down there, just watching people give their all, some people just plod around. I get a little bit of satisfaction. You know what I mean? It's good to see people trying to feed themselves, and as I say, healthy body, healthy mind, mate.
No, it is definitely. I mean, just finally, your love for the football and the game still as well. I know you love for Celtic, and as you say, getting out watching as many games as many as you can. Just tell us about your love for the game and Celtic, and to make it continue as well.
Well, obviously Celtic's just that's my club, mate. That's as much as I love Chester, times that by a million. You know what I mean? That's my club. Everything. My dad was a Celtic supporter. Most of my family are Hibs, to be fair. But my dad brought us up properly. Isaac and Isabella, my niece and nephew, have been to games with us. They've been to Celtic Rangers games with us. So it's a huge part of us, Celtic. I'll be going up Christmas Eve, depending whether or not I take the risk with the train strike. And then, as I say, me love for any game, and it makes a difference. I've spoke quite a bit about pals that are still in the game, and it's not a case of name dropping. I enjoy going to watch the Fed, as I say, Dunstan UTS now. I've got friends everywhere, and if I can just go and watch them, and you rub shoulders with people you haven't seen for 10 years, you know, like Billy Irwin, Tony Heslop, Scott's dad. Just anywhere you go, there's friends, and sometimes you need that. Sometimes I need that, you know. So I can go to Spennymoor, and as I say, yesterday I went into the sponsors lounge with the lads after the game, and just sat there, and you just mix with them, and you just look around and go, as much as, and this is probably again digressing, as much as I think I've had a good career, the standard that these lads are playing at, how they look after them, the physiques, the preparation. I'd love to have played at that level, but I'm in awe watching it even now at 40-year-old. And my pals, as I say, I'll never criticise Mark Anderson, James Curtis. Someone had been writing on Facebook about James Curtis being pastored. He's like a Rolls Royce, mate. You know, I've known him since we played. He was a year younger than me at Tilda Park, so I've known him since we were 11 and 12. And I'm not going to say he gets better. He doesn't get any worse. It doesn't matter how old he is, mate. So you look at my love of the game, look at his love of the game. He's done it at that level for 20 years. and he's in fantastic nick. So credit to him, mate. And again, that's probably what makes me love it so much. Lads like him, you know. So long may it continue.
I might have to get on for James Curtis Numberland, because honestly, every person that we get on doing these interviews and stuff, the funniest moment, I think we had 4 weeks in a row, was because of James Curtis. So I say we'll definitely have to make sure we get him on in the new year.
I'll message him, mate. We'll try and sort something out for you.
Class. But before we get on, just a final message from yourself for the viewers as well. I mean, as we mentioned there with the groups that we've got, I know we mentioned it before every show. If you care, share Foundation, which we're going to put out a new post on both groups tomorrow as well, just so it is fresh in everyone's mind. But anybody that's watching, anybody that's in the groups as well, we always say that they are there to help you, as well as myself. Like I say, always give us a message. I know I'm in bed normally by 10 o'clock because the band's always up early, but always say the message. I'll reply about as many times as I can. Always here for a chat as well. But yeah, I know it's very hard now. I mean, Christmas, and I know, I mean, a lot of the lads playing football now, struggling, may not have a job, and think, God, I've got to buy this present for my bairns or wife or for the family, and a lot of struggles now. You'll see it a lot over the next few weeks. Don't hide it, don't keep it in. Please come and talk to us as much as you can as well. And just finally, with yourself, I mean, just a message for anybody that's watching out there.
No, just echo what you've said, mate. As I say, there's there'll be a lot of footballers struggling. There's a lot of your neighbours will be struggling. You know, keep an eye out for people. Don't just wait for someone to come to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. I do a lot of work at Durham University, and as I say, it's probably one of the drawbacks of being someone that overthinks things. I see people walking around Durham University, obviously a huge campus, and they look sad. Now, I'm not being funny. If I see funny, and this, someone will say this is bullshit, but it's not. Me and the girls went out 2 Mondays ago for Cheryl's birthday. We'd been out on the Sunday. We went to the Christmas markets on the Monday as a family, and there's umpteen homeless people in Newcastle. And Amy, my youngest daughter, said, "Can we get him a hot chocolate?" Obviously, it pulls in your heartstrings, especially the bands.
Yeah.
I says, if you do it for one, I says, you kind of, and I thought, no, if I've given a fiver to someone in Glasgow and it made his day, and I give him a cup of hot chocolate, James, and it was like he'd won the lottery. You know, he was like, oh, that's so, you know, so that's not him coming to me. He wasn't saying, "Gives a tennis, mate." You know what I mean? The band said to me, "Craig, can we help him?" Yeah, well, we're in a position to help. So if I see you walking and you look like you've got the world on your shoulders, don't be afraid to ask someone. I do it to all people on the bus. Are you all right? Can I give you a hand? There's no difference if it's someone that's like me and you. You know what I mean? Just be kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just try.
No, definitely. But honestly, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really nice, something different on the channel as well. And I hope, like you say, we do help a lot of people and get the word out there, really, isn't it?
Okay, mate. No, thanks for having us, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Excellent. And nearly finished for the week, but tomorrow night we've got the Northern Premier League and Division 1 East special. Heaven Town, Carl Morris and Mark Hudson coming on now as well. That'll be really good chatting to them both lads tomorrow. And then Sunday, got I think a good friend of yours, Mickey Barron, coming on.
Yeah, Mickey. To be fair, I know Carl very well, and Mark Hudson used to be at Middlesbrough when I was a band before he went proper pro, if we say, when he had his Rotherham career, etc. So now, as I say, you're knocking it out the park with guests, mate, and I'm sure Mickey will certainly have a couple of good stories, mate. So all the best for them ones.
No, well, he did say when I put it on Twitter that you were coming on about the time, he says he's not retired yet. He's still putting some good performance on Pelton Crown on the over 40s on Twitter before I came on there.
Play centre half, so it should be roles reversed, to be fair.
But no, again, everybody, thank you for watching, and obviously thank you for coming on tonight as well. I really appreciate it.
No bother. Take care.